Want to sell more books? Make sure you're at the Self-Publishing Show live this summer. Meet the biggest names in self-publishing at Europe's largest conference for independent authors. Enjoy 2 days packed with special guests, an exclusive networking event, and a digital ticket for watching the professionally filmed replay, including bonus sessions not included at the live show. Head over to selfpublishingshow.com/tickets and secure your spot now. The Self-Publishing Show Live is sponsored by Amazon KDP.
On this edition of the Self-Publishing Show.
I am keen to write Swallow. He's a Norwich-based detective. He's a bit of a maverick, actually. You know, he's not afraid to break the law. I mean, for instance, if he needs to drive 35 in a 30 zone, if he needs to get somewhere quickly, he would do that.
I should add for non-UK listeners that that's an Alan Partridge reference.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers. No more barriers. No one standing between you and your readers. Do you want to make a living from your writing? Join indie bestseller Mark Dawson and first-time author James Blatch as they shine a light on the secrets of self-publishing success. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome. It's the Self-Publishing Show with me, James Blatch.
And me, Mark Dawson.
We're really hoping technically this is going to go well because we made some changes. We've discovered, if you followed us last week, we discovered that we could switch our iPhones on to Zoom and indeed the way we record. So we've got rid of the DSLR cameras and stuff, and hopefully it looks good to me. In fact, it looks scarily too high definition. I can see my braces and everything. God, I hope these come off soon. We're for about 15 years. But I want American teeth, Mark, as I get older.
Vanity.
Yep, vanity. Look after yourself. Okay, we have an episode today packed with information about the conference that we will be holding in June in London, and hopefully other bits and pieces that are going to be of interest to you as well. We're going to tell you who's talking at the conference. We're going to tell you how it's going to be set up, what the experience is going to be like for visitors, for you, if you're coming along to the conference, and how to get the most out of it. That's what this episode is all about. We have a couple of talking points before then. The first one I think we should mention, Mark, is the expansion of Kobo Plus, which information of which dropped into our email boxes this week. And Kobo Plus, for those of you who don't know, is Kobo's, they probably don't like the comparison, but it is what it is. It's an equivalent of Amazon's Kindle Unlimited. Someone will probably email us now and tell us that Kobo Plus was first or something, but I don't know. Anyway.
No, it was at first.
We know what KU is. It's a subscription service for readers, and you, as an author, can either enroll your book in it or not. And the readers who have a subscription can read it for, in inverted commas, free. Obviously, the subscription pools together and then is distributed to the readers based on the minutes. Is it minutes?
No, pages read.
Pages, that's right, because Kobo is time and KU is pages read. And so that's one of the differences. I'll talk a little bit about how they divide up the money in a second. But the other major difference is that Kobo Plus is non-exclusive. So we know, don't we, as authors, that if we enroll in KU, you are prohibited from distributing your ebook, the electronic version of your book, anywhere else, which actually is fairly limiting when it comes to things like promotions. Free giveaways and stuff like that. So you can't do that wide, and obviously you can't sell it on other platforms such as Kobo and Apple and so on. Nonetheless, KU is a platform of choice for many of us. It is for me. It is for Fuse Books actually, and I know I keep an eye on Jasper Joffrey, don't we? And I know he's a big KU Joffrey Books as well. And Kobo Plus, I suppose, are coming into the market hoping to be a bit disruptive. So there's two changes, Mark. The other one is the payment structure is, I'm going to use the word odd, but it's paid per minute, but you have to have 300 minutes in order to qualify to get paid. 300 minutes is best part of a book, I mean, depending on what speed you read. It seems to be an odd way of doing it. I read really slowly. I'm a slow reader, and I know my wife will rattle through a novel a day on holiday, sometimes more than a novel a day. And so that seems an odd sort of metric, but anyway, that's what it is. So do you think this is significant for us this moment? Sorry, I should say at the beginning, they haven't just invented Kobo Plus, they've rolled it out to the two big markets, the UK and the US. It's been available in Canada for some time, I guess, trialing it there, but it's now available in the UK and the US. That's the announcement this week.
Yeah, so you told me slightly, but I suppose you didn't even mention that before you started recording. So thanks for that. Give me lost there to think about what I was going to say. Do I think it's a big moment? Not really. I think it's great. I mean, I love Kobo. I love all the retailers. But I mean, realistically, Kobo Plus is a fairly small market, and compared to KU, it's not large. But on the other hand, I think all competition is good, and anything that keeps Amazon on its toes has got to be seen as a positive thing, because we all benefit from that. So good, good for Kobo. I think it's a fantastic move. Do I think it'll move the needle? Not hugely, but let's wish them all the best.
Yeah. So the charge, if you want to join Kobo Plus, is $7.99 a month to read. $9.99 a month includes audiobooks. And $7.99 if you just want Kobo Plus listen.
Yeah, it's a good deal for readers, definitely.
Yeah. No time limit. It says here in the publicity, which I guess refers to the 90 days you are obliged to remain in 90-day chunks in Kindle Unlimited, which is a bit limiting. So I'm thinking about putting my third book, which will eventually I think be a freebie. It's actually done pretty well in sales. I'm keeping it priced at the moment, and I'm thinking about putting it into KU now. But that is a 90-day commitment before I can then do anything with it in terms of wide. But so, yeah, being able to bring it in and out, if that's what that means by no time limit. It says there's no time requirement with Kobo Plus. You can try submitting your whole catalogue, just some of your backlist, or maybe just the first books in your series to see what works best for you. And no exclusivity. Yeah, okay, so we're interested. I mean, if you've tried Kobo Plus, if you're in Canada, you already have experience of it, just let us know in the comments or post on our Facebook group. So let's get a discussion going and share experiences on that. And like you say, we wish Kobo well. They're important players. More important in some countries than others, and competition is good and healthy. And Amazon has done such an amazing job of occupying that market. It's not a bad thing for them to be kept on their toes. We would like to be kept honest, don't we, Mark?
It certainly helps. Yeah, absolutely. Good for. I mean, actually, I was supposed to record the podcast for Kobo last night, and it was in my diary, and I've just forgotten about it because we set it up like 6 months ago. And it just went past. So anyway, I've been in touch with them, and I'll be on at some point in the future. But yeah, Kobo are great. I'm a big fans of Kobo.
I didn't forget to do a webinar last night for BookBrush, which was also in my calendar for a long time. So yay me!
Very good.
I had really great fun actually last night. And they do it slightly differently. They use it like a Zoom meeting, so you see everybody, and you can.
Oh, okay.
I was playing clips, expecting people to laugh, and I was just watching, see if they were laughing. They were. Okay, good. Right, Mark, we're going to talk about the conference. So this will be our third conference. It should have been our third annual conference, but COVID intervened for 1 year, 2020. We did do it in 21, I think. Yes. No.
2020 was the...
We did do 2020, amazingly.
That was COVID, wasn't it?
That was the COVID year. So we missed 21, then we came back in 22, and now we're doing this 23. Yeah, the venue will remain the same, which is the South Bank Centre, London's sort of cultural artistic centre south of the River Thames. Very central. You can wander across. You're in Parliament Square, and the iconic centre of London very quickly. And it's a great place to be. In year one, we just rented the theatre, the Queen Elizabeth Hall, which is a lovely theatre, brilliant lighting. Feels a little bit different from the other conferences we go to, a bit more theatrical, I think. All the people are in one room for each session, so there's no competition on sessions. And they have a good sort of communal feel to it. Last year, we decided to rent the whole thing, despite the eye-watering cost, which gave us the freedom to have the lobby, including in the evening. No members of the public then. In the evening, we had a wonderful party. And people like E.L. James wandered along to the party in the evening as well. It was a really good sort of moment of indie authors in Europe getting together. And it is, without question, the biggest indie conference in Europe. I'm going to one immediately after our conference in Madrid. 20 books. I know the Seville's probably happening at the moment. I think it might start tomorrow, 20 books Seville, which I'm not going to. But yeah, so smaller than 20 books Vegas, probably bigger than Nink. Yeah, I think bigger than Nink, and growing in importance, I think, in Europe. And certainly Amazon KDP have once again for the third year in a row asked if they could be our major sponsor for the conference. I think that says a lot about, it's a tribute to the conference that we've built, Mark, that Amazon want to be front and center in it because obviously they value a moment to get together with indie authors.
Yeah, it's a great chance for them to meet authors. I mean, obviously they'll be at London Book Fair as we record this in about 3 weeks' time, and I'll be there as well. I'm doing a panel on the Thursday of LBF this year, but that's, for people who've been to a book show like that, it's not dedicated specifically to indie authors. It's a bit of everything really. So although I think they see value in going to that show, they're going to meet more indie authors hours, I would think. So yeah, we're very grateful for them being there, and there'll be lots of Amazonians coming up and having phone calls to see who they're going to be bringing. So I think Darren Hardy from the UK will be there, plus I think his regional counterparts from the European markets probably will also be there as well, with some others too. So it's a really good chance to meet staff from Amazon, which is a valuable thing.
Always worth having somebody senior from Amazon in your contacts book. Okay, let's talk about the speaker schedule then. So we have released that this week. It's 2 days. It takes place on June the 20th and 21st. As I said, here in London, and we will start at 9:15 with a brief opening from Mark and I on stage. I don't think I'm going to dress up this year. I think I'll just be me, and this is me. But after that, we have I think probably a bit of a good headline session to start off with, and that is Bella Andre, Mark.
Yeah, so Bella is a worldwide best-selling author. I think she's sold about 10 million books, writes romance, and has been doing it for a long time. Before me, certainly she was a fixture on places like K-Boards and with people like Hugh Howey. So she's very experienced. She's very prolific. And we are going to be talking to her about something specific, which is the way that she has been able to take her catalogue and start to sell it very successfully in non-English languages. So we're going to be talking about translation and marketing in other markets. So she's done one in Germany, and Germany is one that I can also talk about if anyone is interested. Germany is a very, very solid third market for me now. But Bella has had success in markets I haven't been able to crack yet. We're specifically looking at France, Italy, Spain, places like that. So she's going to be talking about what she's done to make that possible in terms of how does she get them translated, what the markets are like, what they're looking for, how she markets, how she advertises, all of that kind of stuff. So we're definitely looking forward to that, and I think that will be something that I will learn from too. And in anticipation of that, I signed contracts yesterday for the first 2 Milton books to be translated into French. So we're going to be seeing if I can replicate a fraction of the success I've had in Germany in the French market. And then if that works, we'll go around the rest of Europe.
Très bon. Okay, before we move on to session 2, I should say that even if you can't make the conference in person in June, everything is recorded professionally. It will be packaged together and released at the beginning of August. You can sign up for that package before the conference. It's just $75, and you get not only everything that took place in the conference, but this year we're beefing that up with additional sessions, webinar-style teaching sessions with some of the leading lights in the indie world around the globe. All of that released at the beginning of August. So if you want to sign up, if you can't make it in person, which is definitely the best thing to do, but if you can't, the second best thing to do will be to enjoy these videos afterwards in your own time. And you can go to selfpublishingformula.com/digital, digital, to sign up for that. Okay, session 2, 10:15 on day 1, the 20th of June, is going to be Damon Courtney. Now, Damon is the founder and owner of BookFunnel, which began life just as a problem-solving app for authors. So we didn't have to use spreadsheets to keep a note of people who signed up for our free books and send them out. It automated that process, and it's one of the first go-to services that we always recommend for new authors. But actually, BookFunnels expanded and is a key part of a lot of authors' marketing now. And that places Damon in a unique position, I think, to talk about marketing, different strategies of marketing, of giveaways, of collaborations, mailing list growing, and so on. It's become a one-stop shop for that. So we're going to have a session from Damon for 45 minutes at 10:15 on day 1. Now, 11 o'clock is a break. And I'm going to mention the break because they're very important in these conferences. And we've been really protective over the breaks when we've done the schedule this year because we weren't last year. We ate into them with some time because there's always pressure on the schedule. And one of the feedback notes we got from people afterwards is they wanted more time to network and meet each other in the foyer. So there will be a half-hour break at 11 o'clock on day one before our third session, Mark, which is up your street, making a killing with regional crime.
Yes, so we're going to be joined by Rachel McLean, J.M. Dalglish, Simon McCleave and Tim Sullivan. And that panel is going to be moderated by Jasper Joffe from Joffe Books. And we're going to be looking at a very popular genre, a very profitable genre, with all of those authors having a lot of success writing crime books and mysteries that have a very strong geographical setting. It's very popular in the UK at the moment. And I mean, I do it too with Atticus, based around Salisbury and Wiltshire. So definitely something that I think will be interesting in terms of the size of that market, how they're building their readership, and why they think that might be such a popular genre at the moment.
I'm keen to write Swallow, who's a Norwich-based detective. He's a bit of a maverick, actually. You know, he's not afraid to break the law. I mean, for instance, if he needs to drive 35 in a 30 zone, if he needs to get somewhere quickly, he would do that.
I should add for non-UK listeners that that's an Alan Partridge reference, as basically whenever James says something you don't understand, it's probably an Alan Partridge reference. So yes, I'm here for Swallow, definitely.
Yeah, Swallow could be the one we're looking for. Okay, so after that session, Making a Killing, we have the 5-step formula to perfecting your story structure. This is Christina Stanley, excuse me, from Fictionary.co. And Christina is one of these enthusiastic editors who has her teeth deep into what makes stories work. And it's such a key part of our writing process. If the story's not there, people won't turn the page, same as the characters, but equally important. And that session is going to be a 5-step formula to help us craft the story that's going to sell our books. Then an hour for lunch. Again, we're making sure we're protective over that. So lunch isn't provided in the conference. Catering is colossally expensive. Not even 20 books provides lunch. And it literally would add like 40 or 50,000 pounds on if we said, can we have a lunch each? But we are in a fabulous part of town. You can wander out literally a few hundred yards either side. You've got a range of some Pret-a-Manger's or Starbucks and so on, as well as little independent cafes. We'd recommend the one in the BFI theatre, which is about 100 yards away, because that's where SPF was born, over a cappuccino in that very coffee room.
It was, yes. And today we come back, and Dave Chesson is joining us from the States. And Dave, well known from Publisher Rocket and Kindlepreneur and things like that. Dave's going to be talking about constructing the perfect Amazon sales page using some of the data that he has amassed over the years. So that should be an interesting session. And then immediately after that, Craig Martell from 20 Books will be with us, and he is going to be talking about what he calls the perfection paradox. So looking at, I think from what I've chatted with Craig, it's going to be imposter syndrome and making sure that, you know, we're confident in our own writing and just staying in our lane, doing our own thing, being confident about it. So a motivational session from Craig to bring us to around about 3 o'clock, when we will be joined by Kate Pickford.
Yeah, so Kate Pickford was on the podcast recently, and Kate is one of those speakers. Whenever you're at a conference and people come out of a session, they're buzzing about it, and we get tapped on the shoulder saying, you've got to have Kate on your podcast, you've got to have her in your shows. She came on, and she just has this ability, I think, to speak in really clear terms, cut through some of the fluff that goes around the way that we write our productivity and the way we market books. And so she's going to be talking about that. And if you follow Kate, you will become a better writer and a better operator of the writing business. She's actually British, Kate, but she lives in Oregon, I think, in the States now. Maybe not Oregon, but she lives in the States for certain. And yeah, a really good person to listen to. I think you'll love that session. And also, of course, because you're at the conference, if you're there live rather than digital, you get a chance to have a chat with Kate as well. Another break at 3:10, and again, half an hour for you to catch up and meet new friends. It could be time for us in the proceedings to talk about the geography of the foyer, Mark.
Yeah, we listened to people last year, and one thing that was requested by several people was that it was easier for people to find other writers in their genres. So we are going to put some signage up and make it really clear that this is where, for example, romance writers can hang out, fantasy writers, sci-fi, thriller, whatever. It will be a chance for you to meet your tribe. And also we're going to be having some badges provided by our friends at Readsy that you can add to your lanyard that will also identify you in terms of genre. So a good opportunity to make some good contacts of writers who are writing the kinds of things that you're writing. So very useful new innovation, and also proves that we listen some of the time. Anyway, after that, we are going to be coming back for a session. Had to have something on this because it's a hot topic at the moment, on AI for authors, help or hindrance, and that is going to be a panel with Stuart Bache, who is an illustrator, was a cover designer, but also has some experience in programming now, and has been involved in building a ChatGPT application, and Hannah Lynn, who's been using AI in her process as well. Might also have, I'm going to try and get another speaker to join that panel, and I might even moderate that myself, because I think that's going to be quite an interesting one to dig into. So that brings us up to the close of the first day, and then we'll have a party in the evening. So as you mentioned, we clear the foyer and may or may not have a band, but there'll be some music and chance to have a beer, or glass of wine, or whatever you fancy. And that was pretty good fun last year. And if we get good weather, as we did last year, that tends to spill out onto the South Bank, and was a very pleasant evening. Thoroughly enjoyed it last year, so hopefully we'll have something similar again.
Yeah, it was really good, lovely evening, and it was nice to relax and catch up with people. As you say, June in London, usually pretty good, so hopefully it'll be a nice evening. Not guaranteed, though, in London. And then day 2, hopefully not too hungover. We start at 9 o'clock in the morning with a panel of Kindle Storyteller Award winners. These are the UK Kindle Storyteller Awards. This is run obviously by Amazon KDP here in the UK. It's a very simple process to enter. Just you change one of your keywords. And we've had a really interesting, varied mix of authors over the years, from travel authors to regional crime to fantasy. And we have a good panels: Anna McNuff, Ian Sainsbury, Peter Gibbons, who's this year's winner, Hannah Lynn again, who you'll know from the AI session the day before, David Leadbeater, and Rachel McLean. Yes, I'm not saying whether I'm bitter or angry that I may or may not have entered a keyword to be longlisted, but didn't get the phone call from Darren.
No, well, and that's not just a winner or a selection of winners. That's all the winners they've ever had. So it's all of the winners. So it'll be interesting to see how things have progressed with their careers. People like Rachel, we know now, has gone from not selling many to doing really, really well. Ian too, we have some experience with Ian, working with him on some Fuse books. So it'll be an interesting session with Darren Hardy from Amazon moderating. Then following that, we will go into a session with TikTok. So we're going to have 2 members of the TikTok team from London, Patrick Hunter and Matthew Perry. Not that Matthew Perry. At least I don't think it's that Matthew Perry. Could be. He's been quiet, so can't rule it out. But they'll be coming on to talk about TikTok Shop, I think, James.
Yes, TikTok Shop, and also TikTok generally. So they talk about what they call social marketing, which is using a social media platform for marketing books. We know that TikTok is a platform that's very, very significant for the publishing industry. It's grown up in probably 18 months to the height it's at now, to the point where the big traditional publishers are nervous about the possibility of the app being banned, with some of those chats from Congress last week, just because it is being as I say, a very significant driver of book sales, and that certainly works for indies as well. So we'll hear from TikTok themselves. Delighted that they are going to be here, and the UK is in the vanguard. Actually, they've released TikTok Shop for authors in the UK first. That will be spreading to America in time, and I'm finding it really amazing. You can sell your books cheaper than you can sell them on Amazon, actually, the physical versions, even if you're buying them as Amazon author copies. And you can send a post out and just have links at the bottom. People, almost a couple of clicks, and they've bought a book off you. So yeah, very significant needle moving opportunity there. So that's TikTok, 9:45 to 10:30. Then we have a break at, again, half an hour, 10:30 to 11 on day 2. Before Mark, the big indie author data drop.
Yep, so that's something that we are doing with the Alliance of Independent Authors. So Orna, Ross and Ally have put together a survey looking at various interesting pieces of data as it pertains to independent authors, including things like how much money the average author makes. And independently of that, before I learned they were doing that, I'd reached out to the body in the UK that did the ALCS survey that was trailed in the press about how the average author was only making £8,000 a year, and then the slew of negative press coverage bemoaning that fact and saying that there's no point being a writer because you can't make any money. I knew that wasn't the case in our section of the market, so I wanted to get something kind of data driven that would demonstrate that. Turns out that Allo were doing that anyway, but what we've done is we've kind of worked together and we are both sponsoring a report based on the Allo data and also looking at a comparison with the ALCS data. And we're hoping to pull out some trends that will have us feeling a little bit better about what we've chosen to do in terms of how we publish. So that will be coming up. And if you can hear whining in the background, that's my dog. He's trying to get out of the door. So we'll just ignore him for the moment. After that session, we are going to go to Mark Recklow, who was a very popular speaker last year. And Mark will be talking about work less, earn more. So something that we can all benefit from, I think. Mark is an infectious speaker, very entertaining, and we think that's perfect for the hour before lunch to close with a bit of German good humour.
So we have an hour for lunch on day 2, 1 o'clock till 2 o'clock again. Well, not quite your final chance for networking, but a little chance at the end of the day there. And if you want to go repaired to a local hostelry, as we say in the UK, you can do that afterwards. But we do have our final afternoon with 2 sessions. The first one is from Britt Andrews, who is actually an SPF Foundation winner and has grown into somebody who's built a fantastic empire, mainly around engaging with her readers. So that's what she's going to talk about. It's called Building a Fandom. So she'll explain how over 2 years she's cultivated a group of loyal super fans and seen her annual earnings hit multiple 6 figures. We couldn't be more proud of Brit and what she's achieved in a couple of years. So very happy to have her on stage in the afternoon. And then a final session, Mark, which you can talk about your specialist subject, Facebook ads.
Yeah, we're going to have a session on Facebook ads presented by Blake Hudson, who is the husband of Stephanie Hudson, who is a very successful paranormal romance author, fantasy author, that kind of stuff. So Blake runs her ads and does a lot of the business in the background. So we're going to ask him to give us some tips as some things that he's doing. And I've seen he does some interesting things with TikTok too, with driving Facebook traffic to TikTok, which is quite interesting. So again, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, very interesting. I love if you're watching on YouTube, Mark keeps coming and going. I guess he's looking after various family members, four-legged family friends. Okay, so that is that.
And two-legged.
And two-legged, okay. That is the last sort of proper session. Then there's 15 minutes at the end where Mark, John and I will do a song and dance routine that we haven't fully perfected yet or started, but we'll start working on that soon. Maybe we'll do roller skates this year just to move things up a bit. Okay, then that's it. That's the end of day 2 and the physical conference. But what happens on those breaks when you go into the foyer is not only will you have those genre areas that Mark talked about, so you can meet up with other authors, very important thing to try and find some writing buddies and other people to keep you accountable, maybe some editing buddies as well in the future. But we also will have sponsorship people who help from the trade and the industry with services who will set up in the foyer, give you a chance. Now, a lot of these people you will probably already be using and be familiar with, but you can also meet people with services you might not have thought about yet. So let's have a quick look at who's going to be there. I've got to make sure I've got this list in order so that we know who has actually got a stall. So we know that Drafted Digital will be there with Dan Wood, and you say KT's coming as well, Kevin Tomlinson. So Drafted Digital aggregator, if you're going wide in particular, to send your book out everywhere, you can have a chat with those guys. Ryan will be here from Plotter, which is a really good plotting software. Stuart Grant, who got his order book filled up last year at the conference, will be there. Stuart does author websites. I think it's called the Digital Authors Toolkit is his company. And Stuart's a fabulous bloke to talk to about websites. Even if you're not going to use his services, he's a generous guy and will talk to you about what will work for you with your website as well. So go and have a chat with him. Hayley will be here from Pro Writing Aid. You may or may not use Pro Writing Aid at the moment. A lot of people find it incredibly useful for their books. get the books as clean as possible before they go off to copy and proof edit. It comes up with lots of suggestions, and there's AI feeding into that as well. So ProWriting is more than just a spell checker. It will start to talk to you about sentence length and lots of suggestions of tightening sentences and making them more readable, so you have a more readable script. So ProWriting is a really excellent product, and Hayley will be there. You can talk to her. We'll, of course, have our friends from Reedsy, the agency for services to indie authors. If you use Reedsy, or perhaps you want to be on Reedsy offering services, you can have a chat with Ricardo and his team. We talked about Damon Courtney, of course. He'll be here with Book Funnel. And we are going to have Book Vault. Curtis Roberts Argrave will be here from Book Vault. Book Rockstar Van Dyke Marketing Company. What a fabulous name. Aaron, I think that'll be Aaron Van Dyke will be here from them. And finally, confirmed with the stall will be Fictionary. And we talked about Christina Stanley earlier, is giving a session. You can find out what Fictionary does. So it's a software service to help you with your novel, to help you with your pacing and your story structure. And Christina is both a development editor and a bit of a software geek. So she's been in perfect position to come up with something like that. BookBub won't be there in person, I think, this year, unfortunately, but are going to be a part of the conference. So we'll see some signs out around the place. But I think the other booth that we're going to have there for certain is Ally, the Alliance of Independent Authors, which is sort of like a trade union body here in the UK. Actually, that's global, isn't it, Ally? Is it global?
Yeah.
It's global. So they sort of do the punching necessary on behalf of the indie community. And you'll see we, as Mark said, have collaborated with them over the survey. Also going to be there, Google, SPF, of course. Find out about our courses. Hello Books, which is our book service. And then maybe something special to announce with Hello Books at conference time. And finally, I think we're expecting WF Howes, who are the audiobook company. Do they own Tantor? WF Howes own Tantor?
No, they're both owned by somebody else. They're
okay. So sister companies. Okay. All right. So they're basically in the foyer. Even if you don't speak to other authors, you will have your hands full talking to the people providing services to the industry. A bit of a little trade fair, trying to replicate what you might experience in Vegas at 20 Books if you go there. Okay, Mark, the only other thing I think to talk about before we go is the digital conference. So as I said earlier, not only will you get everything recorded, professionally recorded, not sort of live stream recording, but professional recording with cameras and well, everyone's mic'd up, so you've got good sound as well. From the conference itself, but we also adding some extra sessions. I'm just going to talk about the extra sessions we'll get from that. I talked about Stuart Grant doing websites. He's going to do a webinar called A Website in an Hour. You'll get that with your digital package. You're also going to get a session from Steve Higgs. Steve is a powerhouse in productivity and running a business as an indie author, so making millions with marketing, ? From Steve Higgs will be added in there. BookBub going to do a session on promoting any book with BookBub ads, without them. We have Kate Nash, who's going to be talking about selling and protecting your rights, very important subject. BookBrush are going to do a session on animation and ads. Isabel Knight is going to do a session on how to create your author brand story. BookBub again, another session from them on how to boost new release sales with BookBub, or how to leverage the deals that you get from BookBub. And there's a question mark in this one, but we'll have another speaker called Alana Johnson. We may not have exactly what she's going to talk on yet, but all of that on top of every session from the conference. Okay, we may have lost the visual, but I'm wrapping up now. So I was going to say, if you're coming to the conference, you do not have to buy a separate digital ticket. All of this will be sent to you as part of your attendance ticket. But if you just want to come, if you just want the digital ticket, as I said, at selfpublishingformula.com/digital. And if you want to come to the conference, not too late to pick up a ticket. We have a few left, selfpublishingformula.com/SPS live. Can't wait until June. Can't wait to see you all there in person and hear from all our speakers. And that is the end of quite a mammoth podcast recording. Sorry that we disappeared from vision at the end there. Mark, all that remains for me to say is a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Get show notes, the podcast archive, and free resources to boost your writing career at selfpublishingshow.com. Join our thriving Facebook group at selfpublishingshow.com/Facebook. Support the show at patreon.com/self-publishing show. And join us next week for more help and inspiration so that you can make your mark as a successful indie author. Publishing is changing, so get your words into the world and join the revolution with the Self-Publishing Show.